All right, and the last thing we're going to talk about here is relationships amongst states. So we're understanding that really when this Constitution was written, and this is Article 4 of the Constitution, um, states were thought of themselves more independent from each other than they do today. And we know that during the Articles of Confederation period, states were basically countries that were only tied together through defense. Um, Similar to the EU, I would compare the Articles of Confederation period. Well, so Article 4 of the Constitution said, well, how are these states, which had previously been independent countries-ish, how are they supposed to relate with each other? Okay, and well, sometimes I do this silly thing. Who would think that I would ever do silly things? Where I'll have conversations between people as my slide for a section. And in this section, I have the state of New York talking to the state of Pennsylvania. You may not know this, but New York and Pennsylvania are like right next to each other. New York, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey talk about themselves as the tri-state area. If you ever go up there, you'll hear a lot of that on TV. So New York says, hey, can you guys look for Mike Marina? He is a murderer and wanted for the murder of public officials in Brooklyn.
Are you supposed to scammer?
You have to wait 5 minutes. No.
It's important. There's a scammer on the Stop Me game.
You're going to make me stop every... Pennsylvania says, sure, it's my obligation, as per the Constitution, to send criminals that flee here from your state or any state back to your state. New York says, thanks, neighbor. So that's what's called extradition. So one of the parts of Article 4 of the Constitution is that states must extradite criminals from one state to the other. This is really interesting in part because, sure, we're one country, right? You don't think much of it, but we remember that these were kind of independent countries when the document was written. But to this day, not all countries extradite criminals. As a matter of fact, Russia took in a guy named Julian Assange at one point. First it was Ecuador, and then it was Russia, then Ecuador. Either which way, they don't have an extradition treaty with the U.S. So the U.S. was like, we need this guy. He broke laws. He was election laws. He had like hacked certain websites and then released them before the election in 2016. Blah blah blah. But they said no, we're not going to send him back. He said, but he's there. He went to the embassy like he's there, and they said, I don't care. Oh no, you know what it was? Assange was Ecuador, and then Edward Snowden was Russia. Like there was a few of these guys who had gotten busted for hacking, and they were hiding out in other countries who refused to extradite. Mexico, though, who's our friend on our southern border, will extradite. So if you break a crime in America and you run to Mexico, they catch you, they're going to send you back. So extradition laws between states, extradition laws also exist between between countries. And yeah, it's true. Oh, listen, I am a resident of California. You are all probably residents of California. And that gives you certain privileges in California that non-residents don't have. One of the biggest privileges is when it comes to costs, when it comes to college costs. And of course, the right to vote. But you'll see when you start looking into, well, you are seniors, you're looking into colleges. Do I have time? Sure, I do. I have 5 minutes. Let's look at UC costs for residents, or CSU costs for residents, and then CSU costs for non-residents. What we're going to find is that residents of California a lot less. So tuition. It's interesting because at one point in my college career, I went to a school in Toledo, Ohio, for whatever reasons. We'll not get into it today. But it was a fun adventure. And boy, it was expensive. But my buddy who had moved out there, and I'd gone out there because I had a friend there, I didn't just randomly choose that city. He was paying way less to me. Like, yo, why are you paying so much less? And he says, oh, because I got my Ohio residency, and residents pay a lot less. So let's see how much less. Non-residents versus residents. So 6+ units, which is full time, you can take up to, I don't know, 15 units is 5 classes. That's probably regular for college. $2,800 for the CSU program. But if you're a non-resident, that same education is going to cost you $5,000, right, for those 15 units, because they're paying more per unit than non-residents. And this is true at junior college, this is true at the UC system. The more you look into it, the more you're going to find. Well, anyways, to finish my story, so I go into the college admissions office at Toledo. I went to school out there for 2 semesters, and I say, hey, look, my buddy's paying so much less. I want to pay less too. Tell me how to do this. And they said, oh, you have to become an Ohio resident. I said, how can I do that? Oh, we'll help you do that. But here's the thing. You got to give up your California residence. And I said, what? Wait, what? No, I don't think so. I'm not giving up my California residency. I'm a Cali boy. So anyways, yeah, residents it's legal to give advantages to residents that you don't give to non-residents. Lastly, let's talk about lawsuits between the states. Sometimes states have disagreements, and when they do, they're allowed to go to court. And one of the best examples of this is water rights. Okay, and we know here in California, especially Southern California, where the largest portion of our state's population lives, we don't have enough water to support ourselves. Okay, we get our water from Northern California, but we also get our water from the Colorado River. You may not know this, but the Colorado River forms the border between California and Arizona down in the southeastern portion of the state. So that's where we claim water rights to that water in that river. Well, how much water rights do we have versus Arizona? Does Colorado have the right to keep all this water? All of these decisions are legal matters, and it has to do with when you first staked claim to your water. It's this kind of old system, but if there's a problem between states and there's disagreements, they can go to court, they can sue each other, and the court will decide who gets which right to which water. It's really interesting. If you ever have time to dig deeper into this, maybe for some sort of project, the water rights issues of California is something that you might be interested in learning more about.